Your Majesty, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, we now have the distinct honor and privilege to invite Her Majesty Sri Paduka Baginda Di Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajiah Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria binti Almarhum Al-Mutawakil Allah Sultan Iskandar Al-Hajj, the constitutional head of IIUM, to deliver her royal address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berhormat Datuk Seri Dr. Nuraini Ahmad, Minister of Higher Education Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Muhammad Daud Bakar, President of the International Islamic University Malaysia. Honorable Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Rector of the International Islamic University Malaysia. Honorable guests, distinguished speakers, moderators and participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everybody. Diversity is a natural occurrence and inevitable. It has always existed in every dimension of life. It's a blueprint of the world, from our genetic sequence to the citizens of the universe. In the International Islamic University, for example, the composition of staff and students is dynamic. Originating from more than 150 countries, it is a great exemplar for diversity, specifically cultural diversity. Each culture has its own way of dealing with concepts, matters, and daily affairs. However, differences can sometimes become a source of conflict in this diverse community. Nonetheless, this conflict can be overcome by acquiring sufficient cultural knowledge or an intelligence which is termed cultural quotient or CQ. This is the crux of the two-day webinar that is currently in session. Cultural values, beliefs, and behavior can be manifested in every individual naturally. Even in these unprecedented times of global pandemic, we observe how cultural norms have helped nations contain the spread of the disease. Vietnam is a fine example where culture of surveillance, public obedience, and collective sense of responsibility has enabled aggressive testing and contact tracing, which help treat detected cases. Germany, whose citizens are rule-abiding community, along with a culture of science and common sense, have proven their success in curbing the spread of the disease, with a low incidence of death by their strict adherence to the Standard Operating Procedure or SOP provided by the government. On this note, the advantage of each culture has in dealing with real-life problems can be garnered to improve an organization. On a larger scale, it can improve a country greatly. With regard to leadership, cultural quotient can be the catalyst for such greatness for diversity. The ability to recognize cultural differences, having high level of tolerance and acceptance, as well as being capable in solving problems arising from the differences, will lead to a harmonious and conducive environment. Closer to home, our Malaysian society is indeed a melting pot of cultures. Thus, Malaysians need to be more culturally responsive towards one another. We have been taught the values of tolerance, respect, along with courtesy and the morality as inscribed in the Rukun Negara or the National Decree. It is time to fortify these practices with cultural intelligence so that we have a deeper understanding of our differences as well as similarities and behave in the most civilized manner upon conflict and resolve them with goodwill. Through cultural intelligence, our diversity can be our most vital quality. It is my most immediate wish that we adopt cultural intelligence as one of our main agenda in our education. As the constitutional head of IIUM, it is my wish and will to make this institution as the forefront of cultural intelligence. Its promotion, research, development, and initiatives should be mobilized en masse by IIUM. Conforming to the diverse nature of the institution itself, with a large international community in its demographic makeup, this is the best place to internalize cultural quotient or CQ. Institutionally and later on project the successes nationally and at international level. I am personally involved in preservation of cultural craftsmanship, which is important to be maintained as it is the legacy of our ancestors. Culture is deep-rooted in each and every one of us. It defines who we are and helps us navigate the world. Given that the world is now becoming a global village, it is pertinent to preserve our culture as well as learning to accept others. Both are equally important as to not compensate acceptance with the erosion of our cultures and values. However, this erosion of cultural identity is looming in our younger generations, and I appeal to the relevant parties to intensify their efforts to end cultural erosion in the frame of cultural cohesion. Thank you very much for inviting me to give a small speech. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.